Okay, so because the whole system of religion never made sense to me, um, me and my husband butt heads a lot. Like, I don't know. It's like I'm not a robot. Okay, just because something says something in a book doesn't mean that I'm just gonna just be be just so joyful and happy about doing it, and especially if it doesn't make any sense. And then it raised concerns because we have our own children, right? And plus the children that he had from a previous marriage. It raised concerns to me that if I'm having a hard time and I'm an adult, these kids are going to have a hard time, and they're kids, right? So we had a lot of instances. Now this marriage, I'm still married, right? So this is 15 years later. Like 15 years later, the kids are grown. Our kids are older now, whatever. But my major concern was, if I feel this way and I'm an adult, I can't imagine how kids are going to feel, or how it's going to affect kids psychologically. Because, like I said, you can't watch TV. These kids are getting in trouble for watching TV. These kids are getting in trouble for wanting to play a video game. These kids are getting in trouble for everything. And it's like, it kind of like messes with your mind a little bit. It's like, I don't know, it's a lot. And I just feel like people try to play God so much, and it's like, you're not God, right? Like, no one has the authority to send you to hell or to send you to heaven. But in my case, the whole embarrassment, I can deal with the no TV. All right. I used to watch YouTube videos on my phone and stuff like that. Like, I can deal with that. Okay, no problem. Like, but like, you want to do things, right? Like, you want to go to the skating rink, right? That's not allowed. Even instances where you want to go to the amusement park, how you gonna get on a roller coaster? You got a dress on. It's just, you talking about shoveling snow in a dress. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's those types of things, and it's like, if God don't do this, God's gonna be mad at me. And it just really pushed me out of religion, because I just felt like God's just gonna have to be mad because I can't do this. Like, I just feel like religion is not about the legalistic things. Like, religion is about loving people and treating people the way that you want to be treated, right? So I really got into like different interpretations of the Bible. Like, I really got into like the metaphysical like versions of the Bible, and I really got into like the allegories of the Bible, right? Instead of like believing that they were actual literal stories, I just started believing that they were just allegories to illustrate to us a lesson, right? Like, okay, this didn't actually happen, but um this is what I'm going to tell you because I want to teach you a story, or I want to teach you a lesson, right? And it's easier for us to learn through stories than it is for us to learn by me actually just coming out and telling you, you know? And I felt a lot more peace with that. You know what I mean? I just felt a lot more peace with that. But I just felt like every time you would challenge anything about the situation or whatever, about religion or whatever, it was always like, in the name of Jesus, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. And I felt like that was just so unnecessary. And it was just so abusive. And it was just so, I don't even know what word to use for it, but it really changed the way I thought about Christians. You know, it just changed the way I thought about Christians and Christianity in general. And I just felt like, if I've never been that type of person to do that, or be that way with someone, but I just felt like I would never be that way or make someone feel that way. Like, sometimes I would just literally like just cry, because it would just, like, I was young, I was confused, I was just like, I was unsure of myself. Like, I was just so, I was, making like minimum wage. Like, like I wasn't making any money for real. You know what I mean? And it was just like, I don't know what to do here. You know what I mean? But that was a lot of my like young 20-year-old life, and I didn't have any friends either. You know what I mean? Like it was just like, okay, your friends are not doing right, or your friends are not following the Bible, so you're not allowed to hang out with them. I only had like one friend. You know what I mean? And it just felt so like, damn, I can't talk to my friend because you know what I mean? She's in sin, I guess. You know what I mean? Like it was just like the only difference between me and her was that I'm married and she's not. You know what I mean? And it just felt to me just so, it just made me miserable. Like it really made me miserable. And it really made me like, okay, I don't want my kids to grow up like this. You know what I mean? Like I don't want my kids to grow up like this. And there's just been so many different scenarios that pushed me away from the road. It pushed me away from the religion, and it also pushed me away from the marriage in general. Right? Like it made it like I don't want to be married no more. I don't like this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like this. I feel like I don't have a voice. I feel like I'm not being heard. I feel like, the leadership is not where it needs to be. I feel like this person is irresponsible, right? And it's like, you're not allowed to say anything. You're just supposed to just go along with whatever, right? So it came a point in time where we actually got evicted from our house. A couple of things had happened, a few things had happened, but I felt like number one was it's a lot of work being a step parent and stuff like that. As a young person, it's a lot of work being a stepmom, like it is. Like anyone that's considering becoming a step parent or whatever, it's a lot of work and it's a thankless job. You know what I mean? You're going to be doing a lot of stuff that you don't get paid for. You know what I mean? And of course, you're doing it out of love, but at the same time, like sometimes you are taken for granted. You know what I mean? So you have to like really take your time to yourself. When you're tired, say that I need a break. You know what I mean? Like I need a break. So a couple of things happened. Like I just felt like me and him were just at odds. Like we were just at odds. Like we hated each other. Like hated each other. Like it was a lot to like. It was just difficult, especially with the religious aspect in it too. Like that shit was difficult. Like marriage is difficult in general. Just trying to cohabitate and be with someone, and they have their issues and you have your issues, and y'all are trying to like work it out. But when you throw that religion in there and you throw that poverty in there, oh well, hell, and you throw a bunch of kids in there, oh my God, you be like, Jesus Christ, it's hard. That's the hardest thing I read. And I said, listen, if I can get through that, I can get through anything. That shit was difficult. So we've been through so many different challenges. Like we end up getting evicted, like bad leadership. You know what I mean? And I said to myself, I said, when that happened, I begged and I pleaded. I said, babe, this is what we need to do and not to get evicted. Oh no, God said this. God said that. And come to find out, we get evicted, right? So it's like no one's ever in their life gonna tell me God said something. Because if God said it, he's gonna have to come tell me too. Because people use that excuse like God said this in order to get you to do stuff. And it's like, God ain't say that, man. You're just making this stuff up. You said that. Oh no, I heard it or whatever. I don't know what voices you're hearing, but no, we're not doing that. So we out on the street with all these freaking kids talking about God said something. I said never again. Never the fuck again. Because I just feel like religion don't want you to use your critical thinking faculties. Like it just don't. Like you just don't. Everything's just supposed to be okay. Oh, blah, blah, blah. No, that's not how none of this stuff works. You need to be responsible. You need to pay your bills. You need to do what you need to do with the money that you have, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to be sitting up here paying tithes and I ain't got no gas in my car. Either I'm going to pay tithes, and that if you don't pay tithes, it makes you a bad person, or like then I got to go back and ask the church for money to put gas in my car. Forget that. No, nobody's doing that. Like people that do that are just like moronic to me. Like that's insane. I'm not going to give this church my money that I worked for them to come back and tell me they can't help me when I need help. And that's a majority of what happened. There's been so many times where people need to come back to the church and ask them, after you're paying, you be paying like, I used to pay like $100 every 2 weeks. I used to pay $200 a month in tithes. What's that? $6,200 a month. That's like $2,400 a month, a year, something like that. And then you do that over the course of like years, then like they don't barely want to give you nothing back. Like this shit don't. It doesn't even make any sense. I'm not doing that. I've been stopped doing that. That's one thing that makes me that makes me upset. Like, don't be sitting up here paying tithes if your bill's not paid. Like, come on, man. That don't even make no sense. And then talking about, well, yeah, okay, you can give, like, you can give to the homeless person on the street. Just give to them. Don't make nobody come in here and make you preach down to you and make you feel bad because you not putting no money in the thing. Listen, I used to put blank envelopes in that mug because some of them get like trigger happy and they just want to keep passing around the collection plate. I used to get 5 singles and I used to put $1 in and send it on out. Put another $1 in and send it on out. Put another, like, get the heck out of here. A lot of these churches is greedy, man. I don't know what's going on with these churches, but I don't know like how many people are still religious anymore, but it's just something necessary. Like you gotta just use your brain. Like you just gotta use your head. So anyway, so that pushed me out of religion, and it really had me like not even wanting to have conversations. And then when we got evicted, I was like, oh heck no. I'm about to leave, because you don't know how to listen and you don't know how to lead, right? So I'm not gonna be sitting up under somebody and I can make my own decisions, and I can make my own decisions and be okay, right? Rather than sitting up under somebody and then ended up in a situation that you don't want to be in, and then they looking stupid. Like nobody has time for that. So I said all that to say that religion pushed me, the relationship pushed me, the ungratefulness pushed me, the workload of the relationship pushed me, the stress of the relationship pushed me out of the relationship. Like it just pushed me out of the relationship. And one thing that people need to consider when they do take on stepkids is that other parent can walk away, right? Whether it's the father or whether it's the mother. In my case, it was the mother. The mother walked away, okay? And you have to absorb all that responsibility, right? So you're taking them to the movies, you're taking them to the wherever, you're doing all this stuff as a mother would do, but these are additional kids, right? And one thing about step parentage stuff is that the kids don't always appreciate it, right? Like that's the south side of like, that's the negative side about step parenting, is that you're taking on all this responsibility, but at the same time, there's no guarantee that kid will really appreciate it. Sometimes they appreciate it when they get older, but a lot of times they get to this age where they're like fighting against you. And this just becomes a pain in the butt. You're just like, listen, I didn't sign up for all this, right? Like you have to kind of say to yourself, like, I used to kind of say to myself, okay, Crystal, like, you have your own children, but these are not your children, right? So don't feel so personal, or don't feel like you have to take on all this, because they have a mother and a father, and their mother and their father are ultimately responsible for them, not you, right? So if there's any step parents out there that are taking on that responsibility and you feel like you're drowning, like just take a deep breath and just say, you know what? If they need something or whatever the case may be, you need to just go ahead and just tell the parent, like, listen, they need this and they need that, and let their parent deal with it, instead of you trying to like run here and run there and do this and do that and go crazy, and you putting all that workload on yourself. And it's like, no, listen, just remember, at the end of the day, those are not your responsibility. It's not your responsibility. Like, and it shouldn't be just dumped on you either, because it happens a lot too. And I also feel like, for me, I feel like women are more like accepting of stepchildren than men are. Like, so like when it comes down to men, like they're not a lot of them. I'm not gonna say all, but not a lot of them are very accepting like that. Like, they not gonna just take on somebody else's kids. But women will happily do it. But men are just not, like, they're just like kind of wired differently. Like, they're not gonna do it. So anyway, so I just got to the point of where I got tired of talking about the issues in the marriage. I got tired of talking about like how I felt like a lot of times I really felt like I was being taken for granted. A lot of times I really felt like I wasn't appreciated. I really felt like my husband didn't love me. You know what I mean? Because it's just his actions. And it's like, for me, it just taught me a huge lesson. It's like, people treat you the way they feel about you, right? So if someone's not treating you right, it's often an indicator of how they feel about you. So it was just a lot of that, and it was just a lot of harshness, in the marriage. It was just a lot of harshness, and it was just like a lot of like neglect and non-care. You know what I mean? And it's like, you talk about it and you're like, hey babe, I really would like you to care for me, when, I really would like you to do this for me or whatever. And they're not really listening to you. They're yesing you to death, but they're not really listening to you, right? So you get tired of talking, right? And then when you get tired of talking, you kind of just get real quiet, and you just be like, okay, I feel stuck, right? Okay, I feel stuck because I don't have no money to go nowhere. This guy's not listening to me, and I feel like I'm trapped in this entire situation. Like, I have kids, they're young kids. He has kids, they're older kids, and I just don't really, my parents are not in a place where I can go live with them. I could, but it's not something that you want to do. You know what I mean? Like, you can, but you don't want to. Like, you want to try to tough it out on your own, right? So, so that's that. So after all the like arguments and not listening and stuff like that, you just kind of just get quiet, and you start strategizing on how you can get out the situation, because you're just like, you're not going to change. And we've been through a lot of stuff that, is just like unnecessary. You know what I mean? And you just start strategizing on how you're going to get out of a relationship. You get real quiet. So those things you used to argue about, you don't argue about no more. You know what I mean? It's not important, because you're so far ahead in the future in your head that you're like, okay, I'm getting out of here. I don't care how long it takes me. I'm getting, me and my kids, we're getting out of here, because this is not a good environment. This is a very toxic environment. Like, this is too toxic to deal with.